You thought being real would set you free. You thought people would finally love you for who you truly are. But here's the truth no one told you. The moment you stop pretending, everything changes, and not in the way you expect. At first, it feels incredible, like you've been holding your breath for years, and suddenly, you can breathe again. You feel lighter, stronger, whole. You tell yourself, this is it. This is what life was supposed to feel like all along. But then it happens. The silence, the strange distance, the shift in the room when you walk in. Conversations change, smiles tighten, invitations stop coming, and you wonder, what did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. You just became real. And when you take off your mask, you force everyone else to feel the weight of theirs. When you stop performing, you become a mirror, and most people hate what they see. They don't hate you. They hate the truth you represent, because your freedom threatens their illusion. So they'll never say it out loud. Instead, they'll start with small things. You've changed. You're too serious now. Why you make everything so deep? These aren't observations. They're defense mechanisms. Every time you speak a truth they've buried, they feel exposed. And when people feel exposed, they either wake up or they attack the one holding the mirror. You expected acceptance, applause, maybe even admiration. What you get instead is resistance and isolation. The very people who once cheered for your happiness will now pull away. Not because you've done something wrong, but because your authenticity threatens the foundation of their reality. You represent a choice they don't want to make. Live true or keep pretending. And most people will choose the mask. This is the part no one talks about. The loneliness. The temptation to go back, to put the mask on again just to feel safe. Because the silence can feel like punishment. The empty spaces where friends used to feel like loss. And in those moments, you'll ask yourself, was it worth it? Was truth worth the price? The answer is yes. But before it feels like freedom, it feels like fire. You're burning through old identities, old dynamics, old illusions. The life you built on performance is collapsing because it can't hold the weight of who you really are. And yes, it's terrifying. Yes, it hurts. But this isn't destruction, it's rebirth. What you're feeling isn't rejection, it's redirection. Every relationship that fades, every invitation that disappears, every door that closes, it's clearing space for what's real. Because the connections built on your mask were never truly yours. They belonged to the version of you that played small to fit in, that silenced its truth to avoid discomfort. That life is gone now. And what's coming next will require all of you, the raw, unedited, unapologetic you. So if you feel alone right now, understand this. You're not losing your life. You're finding it. You're walking through the valley of authenticity, that strange, silent in-between where the old world has fallen away, but the new one hasn't fully arrived. Most people give up here. They go back to their masks because belonging feels safer than freedom. But you didn't come this far to go back. You didn't fight this hard to betray yourself again. Because once you've tasted truth, everything else feels like poison. You can't laugh at the jokes that hide pain. You can't nod along to conversations that choke the soul. You can't shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Not anymore. And that's what makes you dangerous in a world built on pretense. Your very existence becomes a rebellion. Your silence becomes a challenge. Your presence becomes a question they can't answer. Why are you still pretending? And here's what happens when people can't answer that question. They project. They invent stories about you. You think you're better than everyone. Translation: your growth exposes my stagnation. You're selfish. Translation: you set boundaries I'm too afraid to set. You've changed. Translation: you stop validating my illusions. Every criticism is a confession. Every judgment is a mirror. This is the reality no one tells you about authenticity. It doesn't make life easier. It makes it real. And reality is messy. It costs you people, places, and patterns that can't survive the weight of truth. But what you get in return is everything you've been searching for. Because the people who stay, they're real. The life that remains, it's yours. Not a performance. Not a role. Not a mask. Yours. So let them pull away. Let them misunderstand. Let them call you intense, difficult, or changed. Because the truth is you have changed. You've stopped living for applause and started living for alignment. You've stopped seeking permission and started seeking truth. And yes, it will cost you everything fake. But in the end, isn't that the point? They don't hate you. They hate what your truth does to their illusions. And the deeper you go into authenticity, the stronger this resistance becomes. Because every step you take toward freedom creates a sharper contrast between your reality and their pretense. And that contrast burns. Think about a room full of people wearing masks. Everyone knows, at least unconsciously, that the masks are there. But no one talks about it. It's safer that way. Predictable. Comfortable. Then you walk in without a mask. Suddenly, everyone becomes aware of their own. They feel the itch, the weight, the suffocation they've been ignoring for years. And now they have two choices. Take the masks off too, or make you the problem. Guess which one's easier? They'll start small. You're different. You've changed. You're too serious now. These comments sound harmless, but they're loaded with meaning. What they're really saying is, stop making me feel this way. Stop showing me what I don't want to see. When that doesn't work, they escalate. They mock your growth. They roll their eyes when you speak. They make jokes about your phase or your new thing. And when even that fails, they distance themselves entirely. Not because you're wrong, but because being near you hurts. Not physically, but existentially. Because authenticity isn't just personal, it's disruptive. It doesn't stay contained in your life. It ripples outward, forcing others to confront truths they've spent years burying. And most people aren't ready for that. They've built entire identities on avoiding it. They've built relationships that depend on mutual pretending. They've built careers, families, and lives around masks. And now, here you are, showing them another way, a way they secretly crave but openly fear. So they project. They accuse you of arrogance, of selfishness, of being lost or confused. But here's the key. Every accusation they throw at you is a confession. It's their unconscious speaking. When they say, you think you're better than everyone, they're really saying, I feel small next to your courage. When they say, you're selfish, they're saying, I hate that you have boundaries because I never learned how. When they say, you're going through something, what they mean is, I can't understand a life that doesn't revolve around pretending. Once you see this, you stop taking it personally. You stop arguing. You stop explaining. Because their reaction has nothing to do with your truth and everything to do with their fear. And the sooner you accept that, the freer you become. But let's be honest, freedom isn't easy. At first, it feels like fire. Because authenticity costs you something most people aren't willing to lose: belonging. You'll watch old friendships fade. You'll see family dynamics shift. You'll lose people who once felt permanent. And that loss will hurt like hell. Not because you need them to survive, but because you love them in the only way you knew how: through the mask. And now you're realizing that love built on illusion isn't really love at all. This is the valley no one talks about. The valley of authenticity. It's where most people quit, because the silence feels unbearable, because loneliness whispers lies. Go back. Put the mask on. It was easier before. And part of you will want to listen. You'll scroll through your phone, see the group chats you're no longer part of, the invitations that never came, the lives that seem to go on without you. And you'll wonder if truth is worth the price. It is. Because this emptiness isn't punishment. It's clearing. It's the demolition before the rebuild. You're not losing your life. You're making space for the life that's been waiting for you all along. A life that isn't built on performance, but on presence. A life that isn't full of people who love your mask, but people who love your soul. But before we talk about that, there's something else you need to understand. Something dangerous. Something that hides inside authenticity like a shadow inside the light. The ego. Because authenticity has a shadow side. And if you don't see it, it will swallow you whole. Here's how it happens. You break free from one illusion only to build another. You trade the mask of being good for the mask of being real. You turn authenticity into an identity, a performance in its own right. Suddenly, you're using truth as a weapon. I'm just being honest becomes an excuse for cruelty. I don't do fake becomes a shield for judgment. You start feeling superior to the ones still wearing masks. You start speaking your truth, not because it's necessary, but because it makes you feel powerful. And here's the paradox. The moment you're proud of being authentic, you've stopped being authentic. Because realness isn't a performance. It isn't a brand. It isn't something you announce. It's something you live. Quietly. Consistently. Without the need for applause or validation. So check yourself. Ask, am I speaking truth or am I performing truth? Am I living from authenticity or am I addicted to the image of being real? Because the ego will use anything, even enlightenment, to keep itself alive. It will turn awakening into a badge of honor. It will turn your growth into a trophy case. And if you're not careful, you'll become what you hate, a performer. This is why humility matters. This is why compassion matters. Because real authenticity isn't about declaring, I've arrived. It's about admitting, I'm still becoming. It's about remembering that everyone is on their own timeline, and no one wakes up without resistance, including you. So what do you do? How do you walk this path without losing yourself to ego or despair? First, you accept the cost. You stop expecting applause. You stop expecting understanding. Because most people won't understand, and that's okay. You didn't come here to be understood. You came here to be free. Second, you find your people. They exist. The ones who crave depth. The ones who light up when you speak truth. The ones who celebrate your unmasking because it gives them permission to unmask too. These connections will be fewer, but they'll be everything. They'll feel like oxygen after years of breathing smoke. Third, you practice radical self-acceptance. Because the world's rejection only stings where you're still rejecting yourself. The more you embrace your own messiness, your own contradictions, your own unfinished edges, the less you'll need anyone else to validate you. And the less you need validation, the more magnetic you become. Because nothing is more powerful than someone who moves through the world rooted in their truth without apology and without the need to convince anyone. And finally, you trust the process. You trust that the loneliness is temporary. You trust that every ending is clearing space for a beginning. You trust that the universe isn't punishing you. It's positioning you. Positioning you for relationships that don't demand your silence. For work that doesn't require your soul as payment. For a life that feels like home. Because the truth is, authenticity doesn't give you everything you want. It gives you everything real. And real is worth more than all the applause in the world. So let them leave. Let them misunderstand. Let them call you intense, difficult, too much. Because here's the secret they'll never admit. Deep down, they wish they had your courage. Deep down, they want what you have. The freedom to walk through life without a mask. They just don't know how. And maybe they never will. But you will. Because you already started. And the only way out is through. And here's what I want you to remember. Every time you choose truth over comfort, you are rewriting the story of your life. Every time you hold your boundary, you're telling the universe, I matter. Every time you refuse to shrink, you're proving that freedom is possible, even in a world that worships the mask. But this path isn't easy, and it's not supposed to be. Growth never feels like comfort. It feels like chaos before clarity. That loneliness you feel, it's not emptiness. It's a sacred clearing. A space being prepared for the relationships, the opportunities, and the life that matches your truth. So when it gets hard, and it will, remember this, you're not broken, you're breaking patterns. Patterns that have been passed down for generations. Patterns that told you to stay small, stay silent, stay safe. You're breaking the cycle, and that is why it feels heavy. But the weight you're carrying isn't yours. It's the weight of an entire system built on pretense. And the fact that you feel it means you're strong enough to end it. Now let me leave you with 3 things you could do starting today. First, practice saying no without explaining. Every time you justify your no, you're still seeking permission. Stop asking for permission to honor yourself. Second, take inventory of your energy leaks. Were you saying yes out of guilt, fear, or habit? Close those leaks. Protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Third, give yourself the grace to grieve. You're not just losing people. You're losing versions of yourself that you once thought were real. Let them go. Cry if you need to, but don't go back. Don't trade your truth for the illusion of belonging. Because here's the ultimate truth. Being hated for who you are is better than being loved for who you're not. Real connection is rare, but it's worth every ounce of loneliness you'll face along the way. And when it comes, you'll know. You'll feel it. The conversations will go deeper. The silences will feel full, not empty. You won't have to perform. You won't have to earn. You'll just be, and that will be enough. So, if you're in that valley right now, if you're wondering if it's worth it, let me tell you, it is. Don't put the mask back on. Don't go back to the life that almost killed your soul. Keep going. Because what's waiting on the other side isn't just a better life, it's your real life. And if this message spoke to you, share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe for more conversations like this, because your journey isn't over, it's just beginning. Stay real. Stay awake. And remember, the world doesn't need another mask. It needs you.